Welcome back to the Just Grill and Outdoor Living channel. I'm Sam. In today's video, we're going to be smoking a brisket on the Weber SmokeFire EPX6 Stealth Edition Pellet Grill. Today's video is one of the most requested video topics we get about this grill. How good does the SmokeFire make a brisket? Well, the proof is going to be in the video today, which we plan to show you some good stuff. I want to go ahead and set some expectations for this video, so let's do that before we dive in. By the end of this video, I think it's going to be clear that it's very easy to make a great backyard brisket on the SmokeFire. I'm going to keep things very simple throughout this entire video. Simple is best. This isn't really a full-on brisket tutorial where I'm focused on things like optimal smoke ring, making tallow, burnt ends, does it pass the bend test, the perfect trim, stuff like that. I'm a simple guy, and I just want to make a good backyard brisket that's tender, juicy, and has great flavor. That's what should matter in a backyard brisket. I do my best to be thorough and cover as much as possible, but if there's something I miss, just leave a comment below, and I'll be sure to answer it for you. Let's get started. We've got our main tool, which is the SmokeFire Pellet Grill, but there's a few other things we want to make sure we have on hand. We're going to need pellets. Pellets typically come in 20-pound bags, and while one bag should be good enough, I do recommend having a second bag on hand. The last thing you want is to run out of fuel and finish this in the oven. And trust me, that happens way more than you think it does. I see it all the time in online forums. We're also gonna need drip pans. I do this with any grill I use, not just the SmokeFire. I don't wanna deal with cleaning up the grease later on. This just makes cleanup much easier. Your other basic tools will be a curved knife for trimming, a long blade like this brisket slicer for cutting at the end, butcher paper for wrapping, and your seasonings. I'm going to use an injection, but that's not required. Trimming a brisket might seem intimidating, but it's pretty simple. The goal is to remove hard fat that's not going to render down in the cooking process. There are plenty of great videos of this already online, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time going in depth about this. When in doubt, just leave a little on there and you can always remove it afterwards. I like my briskets to have some fat on there. I think that's what makes a brisket so good. So I keep my trimming to a minimum. If you're cutting down to the beef itself, you've gone too far. Now my brisket is ready to inject. Let's talk about why I'm injecting this brisket. I'm injecting this because I want to give this meat every chance to be successful, especially if this is my first time doing a brisket. I said earlier that this isn't required, but I do recommend it. If you've got a large thick area, like the point, and then a small thin area, which is the flat, injecting, especially in the flat, helps keep that area moist because it's susceptible to drying out while waiting for the point to cook all the way through. If you think about chicken breast, it's a similar concept. If you don't thin it out or make it uniform, you have overcooked and just right chicken on the same breast. Now that we've injected the brisket, let's season it. You can use a binder if you want to. Most people just use regular mustard. I've done it both ways. I like just going with the seasoning. Now, I do use multiple seasonings. I think layering is a very underrated technique that brings out a lot of flavor in the end result. I'm just gonna layer my 2 rubs on one side, let them soak in for 10 to 15 minutes. While that's happening, I'm gonna get the SmokeFire ready, and then afterwards, I'll flip it over, season the other side, and let that soak in. Before turning on the grill, let's make sure I have pellets loaded in the hopper. For a successful cook, I wanna make sure that I'm using pellets that are fresh. And what I mean by that is that they haven't been left inside the hopper, exposed to moisture, gotten wet, or they're just mainly dust. This is an important step that people overlook, and you need pellets to feed smoothly to avoid any major hiccups while cooking. Next, I'm gonna position my drip trays inside the smoker. I'm gonna be putting this brisket on the top shelf with the fat side down. You could do fat side up since my heat source is coming from below. I like fat down to insulate and protect the beef from the heat. I'm gonna put my drip trays on the lower grate levels. If I was positioning my briskets on the bottom grates, then I would just put these right underneath the grates. Now that I've done those two things, let's fire up the grill. I'm going to turn on this grill and open the Weber Connect app. These grills have a smoke boost feature that smolders pellets around 200 degrees, a little bit less than that. I'm gonna set the grill to use that, which this can only be done through the app. I'll let the brisket sit in the smoke boost for the first hour of the cook, and then I'll move the temperature up to 225 degrees. Our brisket is prepped. There's only one more thing we need to do. We need to monitor the internal temperature of the brisket. So how do we do that? With the SmokeFire and the Weber Connect app, I'm just going to insert the meat probe that comes with the grill and monitor it from the app. I want to put the probe in the thickest part of the point. When I launch this brisket, I'm going to launch the thinner side of the brisket on the left side of the grill or to the right. I want to leave the thickest part of the beef dead in the center. This is because I know how this grill runs. It's slightly hotter, dead in the center. This should help it cook more evenly and give me a better chance from drying anything out. Now that I've launched it, there's not much to do other than give the brisket an hour in the smoke boost and then turn the temperature up to 225 degrees. From there, I'm waiting until the stall. This can happen anywhere from 150 to 170 degrees. At some point in the cook, the brisket will just be stubborn and act like it doesn't want to cook anymore. This is why we wrap it, to help push the food through this stall and get it to the finish line. If you wanted to, you can follow along Weber's handy step-by-step guide for prepping and cooking a brisket through the Weber Connect app. I'm not doing that in this video, but it is a nice feature if you wanted to use it. Our brisket's approaching 160 degrees internally. We're pretty much in the stall range at this point. There's no telling how long it's gonna stall out for, but typically 2 hours is what I plan for. Once I have it wrapped, I'm gonna put my probe back in and then put this back on the smoker. I'm also going to bump the grill temperature up to 250 degrees. You could go 275 if you wanted to. At this point, the beef isn't gonna soak up much more smoke, so I just wanna help this brisket get to the finish line a little faster. Because it's wrapped, we can increase the heat slightly as it's a little more protected. The brisket's reading 203 degrees internally, so it's time to pull this off so it can rest. We need to let it rest for at least an hour so the internal juices can redistribute throughout the beef. I like letting it go 2 hours, that's just me. When I pull it, I'm just gonna transfer it to an insulated cooler, leaving it wrapped as is, or you can wrap it in an old towel. You can choose to unwrap yours, put it in a pan, rewrap it with new butcher paper, and so on. There's a handful of different ways to do this. Not saying my way is the only way to do this. It's time to slice into our brisket. I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we needed a long brisket slicer. The reason we want a long knife like this is so we don't have to saw back and forth. With this knife, we should be able to slice through in one front and backwards motion, helping keep the brisket more intact. There's only one thing left to do, and that's the taste test. Peppery, but it's good. You saw how juicy this was. This definitely is not gonna win any competitions by any means, but that's what I meant earlier about a backyard brisket. All you're looking for is good taste and tenderness, and that's what we got here. And you saw how easy it was to do that on the SmokeFire. From the start, we kept this pretty simple. From our food prep to grill prep, it was all pretty normal. And an easy cook that went smoothly and yielded a good backyard brisket, as you saw. Our cleanup's gonna be easy. All we need to do is toss the drip pans and we're done. If you're interested in the SmokeFire, just to let you know, I'm very happy with the results this grill gives me, and I think you would be too. If there's something I didn't cover or you want answered, just leave a comment below and I'll be sure to answer it for you. If you're in the Tampa, Florida area, come see us in our designer showroom. We'd love to talk more about this grill with you, or anything Weber for that matter. You can always give us a call or send us an email. That information is below. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so that way you get notified about more videos like this. It helps us out a ton. Another way that you can show your support for us is by purchasing a super like on this video. That way we can continue to make great videos like this. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.